Alright, boom, now I'm up to level 7. So now with level 7, it's going to be groups of 3, 3, and 1, or 3, 1, and 3, or 1, 3, and 3. In this instance, I'm going to get the first 3 in Chinatown and Trent. Because I always try, when you're doing this mission, always try, whenever you're doing this mission, okay, to mentally, as soon as you see the level and start driving towards the patient, try to mentally group them in as many groups as you know. I know, for instance, I knew at the start of this level I'm going to have to make 3 trips, 3, 3, and 1, or any variation that keeps a minimum or maximum, probably, of 3 trips. So in this instance, I'm going to do 3, 3, and 1. Sometimes you might do 3, 2, and 2. You know what? However, it's easiest for you, but always make sure to remember that you want to group them in as few groups as possible to save time. So this is the third patient here in Trenton. And again, I'm turning toward where I want to go as the patient's getting in. But you notice how slow I was going. So even if the patient ran into the ambulance, it would be okay. Slow. Another trick that'll save time, but you got to get the timing of it down perfect. As you'll notice, I'll demonstrate for you in the next patient. I start taking off as soon as the patient opens the door. Why? Because in this particular GTA game, unlike some of the other ones, as soon as the patient opens the door, you can take off without and you won't run the door. But you got to time it perfectly, otherwise you'll pull away from it. Now I'm going to go for the 1 patient in St. Mark's, 2 in Harwood. And again, notice I'm giving everybody the right of way here. Why? Because I'm such a courteous one. Not really. Get this patient here. And by the way, this was one that I should have made the right after the hospital and went up the 3rd road, but for some reason I underestimated where the patient was. Now I'm going to go down to Harwood to grab the patient, and then the other one, I think, from the looks of this, is Hampton Heights. Yeah, it is Hampton Heights. So is this one. So I'm going through the park here. Very carefully, because there's a lot of obstacles here. You want to go very slow, just like I'm going. I'm even trying to avoid running over pedestrians. Why? Because they do small amounts of damage to your ambulance. Very small, and I wouldn't worry too much about it. But another thing too is the one thing you don't want to do is crash into a cop car or run over a patient and get the cops in. Okay, now I'm going to turn on left on the first long road here. Ideally, actually, you'd want to wait. You'd want to turn on the next long one, but this is okay too. This will take me to the hospital. And you notice I did the first group of 3, the second group of 3, and the third group of 1, which is going to be located by the docks. And again, notice how slow I'm going. I could go faster, sometimes I will, but in this instance I really wanted to err on the side of going slow. Alright, so I'm picking up the patient, and again, notice I was able to take off without the patient falling down or getting run over or losing. Again, look, by the way, another trick is to stay close to that little low wall, or liftable wall by the taxi stand, by the taxi company. Why? Because that's the flattest part of that rather strange embankment. The other one is like just really too bumpy. That's bumpy too, but it's not bad. Anyway, we're up to level 8 now, and I just ran somebody over. So this time we're going to probably try for groups of 3, 3, and 2. Okay, and now we got 3 right here in St. Mark's, so that'll add plenty of time to the clock to get the level started. And that's what you want to do on these higher levels. You want to try and grab as many groups of close together patients as possible. Why? Because it'll give you a ton of time to your clock. In a way, I should say this, even though a lot of people think the higher levels are harder, they're actually easier because they're easier to find groups of patients all in an area. And notice that even with the cheap amount of time the game is giving me per patient, it's only giving me 23 seconds. Well, that's actually not too bad. But it's only giving me 23 seconds per patient. I've still got a minute on the clock. Another tip you got to remember, just so you know, you get time added to your clock for every patient, obviously, but you only get time added to your clock for the first drop-off. Okay, not the second and third. Actually, you might get it for the second. I'm not 100% sure, but I guess it's not the second. But anyway, you notice I went carefully back through toward the Fulton Heights area by the super save of the dock. Why these patients are close together. And in this case, I think if I remember, in this case I went 3, 2, and 3. I read 3 patients in the first group, 2 patients in the second group, and then I'm going to get to 3. Why? Because it still adds up to 8 in the fewest trips possible. And good. And again, notice how awesome and pristine the ambulance is, even with that broken door. Okay, and notice that we didn't get time for dropping off that second group of patients. So the game's a little cheap when it comes to time, but not too bad. Anyway, back into St. Mark's again. Get the last group of patients. By the way, that was the most damage I did to my ambulance by a mission. But even so, notice how even the breakable environments, like the lamppost, will still cause subtle damage to your ambulance. It's not damage that's going to make you go on fire. It would take probably hundreds of what I just did to blow up my ambulance. But notice I haven't hit any walls. I haven't slammed into any cop cars. Why? Because I'm driving fast only on straightaways and when I know I can get away with it. This is the other way to get to those patients, by the way. Going around this bend. I wanted to show you a third way to get this. Okay, and this one's going to actually be by the hideout, the red light district. And you're going to drive right by the hideout. Okay. Right there, he gets in. And notice your hideout is right to the left. That's of any significance at all. And this time, I'm going to take a different way to the hospital. I'm going to take the second long turn, which will bring me right to the end of this. The dead end of this road is actually right at the hospital, which I think is spectacularly cool. But whatever. I'm easy to please when it comes to GTA. Boom, level 8 is done. Easy. Now we're at level 9. Now this time you absolutely only want to do 3, 3, and 3. Why? Because if you do any less than a drop off with 3, then you're going to have to do 4 trips. It's just simple arithmetic. Alright, so now all these patients are pretty close together. I'm actually going to leave that one west of you, even though it's closer, to get just in a second. Just because I want to add more time to it. This is a pretty good level. I've got 22 seconds per drop off. Actually, in this instance, this instance I'm going to go for the one at the edge of St. Mark's here. For some reason I thought I went for that other one. I think that would have been a better patient to go for, but whatever. Now notice I spun my ambulance around, but very slow, so that it didn't kill the patient when he ran into me. Now again, get to know how to go through this. Notice I'm flying through this because I'm good at it. You might want to go slower. But I'm able to get through that, to navigate it pretty well, because I know that the middle is fine and the sides are where the roads are broken. Okay, that was 3. Now we'll go for the next group of 3. I'm actually going to go to the one closest to the hospital first, which is here. Then I see, in my head, I know that there's the one to the right is in Chinatown, the one to the left is in Portland View, even though there's no pause mark like there is in Vice City. Ooh, squish, I love that squishy sound. Alright, so I'm grabbing the Chinatown one first. I kind of know in my head where the dots are, kind of, sort of, just by looking at that. And again, now notice that I put the end of my ambulance that I wanted him to get in closest to. So because I knew that the front seat was taken, so I didn't show the passenger my front seat. There's another push short right there. I showed the passenger my rear end because that's where I want that sounds really bad, doesn't it? That's where I want the passenger to come into my rear end. That's gay person right now. Anyway, now I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to turn around and give the patient the rear end of the ambulance. This way it gives them less. That's less the patient has to walk. Again, I'm staying by the very short wall close to the taxi company. Why? Because it's less fun. But still going slow, so the ambulance don't turn. Also, get used to navigating into and out of this hospital without slamming the ambulance. I've gotten very good at this already. years of playing this game. Okay, so now I got a lot of time. It doesn't seem like it, but it's 51. It started the last part of the level in 51 seconds, giving me 22 seconds each patient's dead. Again, look, notice how I'm navigating this through the straight part. I never enter into the hole. You don't want to bounce because then you'll bounce over the place. Now notice I'm already pointed in the direction I want to go. Why? Because I thought ahead to that next patient while I was picking up this one. And this one again is right in the park, really annoying. And in this instance I'm going to back off. Why? I'm going to back out because I'm going very, very slow so he doesn't come up. Why did I back out like that? Because then when the patient gets in, I want to be facing the right direction. Get back to the hospital. Let's go all the way around freaking Hepburn Heights. Again, this is the quickest way back to the hospital. Notice how easily I'm able to get through there because I know that broken street area. You should practice, by the way, going through that broken street a few times if you're going to do the paramedic. That was the first time I actually hit anything that wasn't breakable. Levels.